The voice of a free soul is unmistakable. Like the air is the voice of the free soul. It is soft yet full of might. As the raw hunger for the living God grew, so too did the freedom within my own voice. The more freedom I gave unto myself, the more adventure I found in life. Yet if I neglected that responsibility in that freedom, the more repercussions arose. The only ones who could tell me anything new about this life were in the depths, and a short end came to many others I knew on the surface, not because I wanted it to, but because substance did not echo in their souls. Most people are hollowed. And it was in gazing toward the skies of faith when I discovered heights everlasting. That's an excerpt from my book here, The Book of Oldishness. And I think this is going to be a great topic for people who are interested about freedom when it comes to freedom from the spiritual chains and the bonds that are seemingly unable to be broken when they are in the midst of temptation or doubt or just an obsession with this false sense of glory within themselves as well. They have this intellectual understanding of things in the way of life, but they don't actually understand how to actually implement that. They don't understand why they have what they have, and they don't understand why they want what they want. They just kind of impulsively move and meander from thing to thing or person to person, hoping that the void in their soul will be filled one day. And that's just not the way that I encourage anybody to live. And I think while a lot of people are on No Nut November right now, or as I call it, No Nut Glowvember, because that's when you see all the guys, you see all the women wanting cuffing season, and then you see all the guys that are not, they're single. All of a sudden they start to have this, this zest and this glow about them that wasn't really there before. And not very many men can make it the full month for sure. But, that's one of the reasons why we talk about this is it's I think, very important for people to recognize the freedom that is coming with, no pun intended there, the freedom that is with not associating yourself with corn, with playing with yourself. And I think that while No Nut Glowvember is actually something that I think most men would benefit to get on board with, I would say that making it a lifestyle is even more important. And although this isn't a semen retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account, unless people are familiar with my work, they might not understand what that is. But every Sunday we do semen retention videos on this channel, and I was thinking about this topic because I think it's important to really hone in on why this is and what exactly happens during this time for men, because men are either going to be moving toward a more proper state of being, and I think orient themselves toward a place of understanding, and they're going to have that glow to them, and they're going to likely intimidate a lot of people. Because what happens when you are actually glowing, and it's not just, you don't do it just for the glow, right? You don't do it for the glow. You do it because you want to grow closer to God, and you actually want to live in accordance to his law, statutes, and commandments. You do it because you actually want to practice purity to some degree, but it's not purity for purity's sake, you see, because I think this is one of the biggest things that people get mixed up with when they're on semen retention or celibacy, or just, No Nut Glowvember as well. They get to a point in which they think that it's for purity's sake, and it's like, no. You use the darkness that you find, because let's say you start to abstain from things that will lead you toward a less proper state of being, okay? Well, what exactly is going to happen? What's going to happen after that, right? Well, what's going to happen is that you're going to start to see just how much darkness you really have. Because there might have been blind spots that you didn't even know yourself until they were presented to you. So, one thing that I would encourage everybody to do at one point, if they are participating in No Nut Glovember, is that you definitely, without a doubt, try to fast at some point. Okay? We talked a little bit about this with the Regal Change Academy as well. There was somebody in there today that was talking about like they needed to have some guidance, or they're looking for God, or to God for guidance and all that, but they're not really hearing answers. And I asked this person, I said, well, when's the last time you fasted? It seems like it was over a year ago, apparently. I said, well, then maybe it's time for a fast. And I think that that's something that many people on this path, maybe we don't do it enough. Maybe we just don't participate in fasting enough to where we actually starve the flesh a little bit. And there's little things that we can do, little diets or nutrition or whatnot that you can do to really amplify your testosterone or just balance your hormones or everything like that. And ultimately, I think whole, good foods, healthy foods are going to be the best source of getting back on track. I think fasting is also going to be an important thing, because let's say you spiritually want to understand something, but you don't really know. Every time I've needed things answered that I couldn't get anywhere else, I just stop eating altogether. I just stop eating. And the thing is that is going to be the point in which I'm usually going to get the most answers, even though it's kind of a painful process at first, because of course you're going to have the hunger pains for a little while. But if you can get to at least even just 24 hours, that's a solid fast. Okay, but I would really recommend at least a 48-hour fast. If you really want to get to the creme de la creme of your answers, start a 48-hour fast. Okay, try to see what you can do. Or even 36 is going to be really a solid fast as well. That's where autophagy begins. But I think a lot of people are, they're not really understanding the profundity of fasting. And I would say No Nut Glovember is a form of fasting, perhaps, spiritually speaking, but you got to actually fast with the hunger, right? That's going to be one thing where you can actually get some answers. And there's also this proclivity that most people have when they're in a situation where they're led to all these temptations and such. You're going to be so focused on the actual fasting, and you're going to be so focused on just trying to keep your energy for what you need to do, that it's not even going to be it's not even going to be a concern, for any of these other temptations that are going to come at you, unless it comes at you like super hard. And then if that happens, then I would say that if you're fasting, the better thing to do, if you have that temptation, sexually speaking, if you have a sexual urge, the better thing to do would just to be to eat, okay, rather than to give into the temptation, but and play with yourself, because I don't think that's going to solve the problem. But if you're actually going to try to have something new in your life, let's say, you want to build new thought algorithms and pathways so that you can optimize your state of being and that you can actually live in accordance to the law, statutes, and commandments of God, well, then what's going to happen is that you get to stay committed to that fast, whatever it is. And you don't have to always have like a time limit, right? Even with No Nut Glovember, you don't need to have a time. Okay, well, only for November, I'm going to do this. I mean, you could do that, but you could also just make it a lifestyle. You could do that. And that's what I advocate for this channel. I don't really like to say I give advice anymore, but I like to say that this is what works for me, this is what doesn't work for me. And what works for me is just having it be a lifestyle. It's just way easier to commit to, because I know what I have to do. A lot of people, when they are in this space where, because there's kind of this dizziness that comes with freedom sometimes, right? Like, remember at the very beginning when I talked about this, the freedom within a soul, right? What that really means. there is this dizziness that comes with freedom sometimes if you're not used to it. And if you're not used to it, if you're not used to the ability to choose, because you're always so used to somebody else telling you what to think or how to be or ways to be and all this stuff. Like if you're not used to that, then you're going to be operating in a very peculiar domain for yourself because you've never experienced it before. But definitely No Nut Glovember is going to help with that. Fasting will help with that. There's going to be so many different routes and avenues that you can take in regard to really just living up your life and living it to the fullest degree that you can when you're just operating from a place of incorporating the darkness, implementing the darkness, okay? The thing that I think makes people on this path stand out from other people, whether it's in my one-on-one sessions, my Godlike Master Initiation Program, or the Regal Change Academy, it's like the people that are staying with it in the long term, they allow themselves to feel the darkness, and then they transmute it. They take the pain and they make something beautiful out of it because they're channeling that inner godlike qualities that they have to reconnect with that which is divine, God himself. And so it's so interesting to me because there's so many people that lack this ability to steadily see how they can grow closer to God without losing themselves. Like some people think that they have to lose themselves to find God, and it's like, well, the Bible does say that in order to like you might have to lose your soul to find it for his sake, right? And what that means is you lose everything that you think you know to actually find it, right? Because there's parts of you that need to be burned away. There's parts of you that need to be destroyed or even killed to some degree. And only you can do those things. And that's a weird thing to think about. And that's where the thought algorithms come into play, because if you don't have the proper thought algorithms, good luck. Good luck trying to move in life that is going to get you to a better thought pattern. Because the thought algorithm is what develops your thought pattern. And the more that you develop your thought algorithms, the more proper your thought patterns and actions are going to be, rather. Your actions are going to determine a lot of things, but it starts with the mind. Okay, you have to start with the mind. You have to start with, okay, I am willing myself to go this way. And you have to firmly believe it. Okay, this is where you have to hold on to your nuts and move in the direction that you want to move. You have to double down sometimes. You have to do this. If you do not double down and hold on to your nuts while doing so and just will it into existence, if it's in accordance to God's will, and you're actually doing what, because you're so powerful, man. Like, you have no idea how powerful you really are until you actually know that you can just, like, you get what you have faith in to some degree. It's not really about what you deserve. You almost get what you have faith in. And I mean that technically. I don't really mean that literally. I mean that technically. So it's something to think about, and it's something to ponder for sure, because there's so many people in this world that are going to be taking these missteps and not going to be able to actually commit themselves to certain things. But when you can actually commit to something and you can go full-fledged into that which you know you can go full-fledged into, and even though it's not going to be pretty maybe all the time, but it's going to be a process, but you're going to commit yourself to it, there's something tranquil about it. There's something that brings about this numinous quality to your life that is just so powerful. You know, you just see life, you see the beauty of life in a leaf, you know, or on the walls, or just in this glass of water. Like, I just see life everywhere. Life emanates from you when you just are able to commit to something, and you're able to, all right, I'm going all in. And I'm not saying go all in as in like gamble your life away or invest everything you have into whatever, or like financially speaking, or spiritually speaking, or even in relationships. But sometimes, like you're gonna have to go all in. You're gonna have to be all in rather than go all in. Maybe that's a better phrasing of it. You have to be all in rather than go all in, because putting all your eggs in one basket. Anybody that's familiar with investing knows that that's a really bad idea. And I know that also because I did that and it was a horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. So I diversify assets, and that's not just when it comes to finances. That means even within myself, because I treat myself as an asset. So, okay, how do I treat myself as an asset so that I can actually be a better person? How can I actually be a better version of myself? Like, if I were talking to a clone of myself, how would I advise myself, right, to move in the world? And I pray for my past self and I pray for my future self as well. And I think that that's something else that maybe you could try to do if you're like on the path and you actually want to be somewhere more. That's going to be the place to start, is praying for your past self and praying for your future self, and just so that you can grow closer to Jesus Christ as well. So I hope with all that being said, this was a useful discussion for you. I enjoy doing these kinds of videos, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be with you guys in the spirit of the time. So, oh, it started to rain outside. Nice. So with all that being said, I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your day. Peace be with you. Until next time.